Imagine walking into a dark wooden cabin in 19th century Russia. Inside, a group of children in ragged clothes are huddled together, staring intently at a chalkboard. And written on that board is this: 10 squared plus 11 squared plus 12 squared plus 13 squared plus 14 squared, all divided by 365. At the time, the Russian elite viewed these specific children, the sons and daughters of poor farmers, as practically uneducable. They were considered a demographic entirely unfit for serious intellectual work. But these students aren't staring blankly at a string of numbers. They're calculating the exact answer to this massive fraction entirely in their heads. To see how they did it, look at this diagram breaking down the math. If you take the first three numbers in the numerator, 10 squared, 11 squared, and 12 squared, and expand them out, you get 100 plus 121 plus 144. Add those together and you get exactly 365. Now look at the remaining numbers. 13 squared is 169, and 14 squared is 196. Add those two together and you get another perfectly clean 365. Suddenly, that terrifying fraction simplifies down to 365 plus 365, divided by 365. The large numbers cancel out, leaving an elegant, simple answer: 2. Performing that level of mental gymnastics without paper or a calculator requires deep number sense. The fact that it was happening in a rural, impoverished village points to an extreme educational anomaly, and it was entirely set in motion by a single man who walked away from high society. In the 1860s, Sergei Rutchinsky held a highly coveted position as a professor of botany at Moscow University. He was a brilliant scientist, tasked with translating dense scientific texts, including Charles Darwin's evolutionary theories, into Russian. He operated at the absolute peak of Russian intellectualism. His social circle included the country's most famous artists and writers, including a close personal friendship with Leo Tolstoy. Yet in 1872, Rutchinsky abruptly abandoned his prestigious chair in Moscow. He packed his belongings, moved to an impoverished rural estate in Tatebe, and decided to spend his life teaching illiterate farm children how to read and do basic math. Rutchinsky arrived in Tateve intending to teach only the most elementary curriculum. However, applying elite university pedagogy to raw peasant curiosity created a completely unintended intellectual explosion. The introduction of mental math immediately transformed the classroom, as the children developed an overwhelming obsession with calculation. The dynamic quickly grew chaotic. Late at night, dozens of students swarmed him, demanding massive, multi-digit calculations to solve entirely without paper. The students were soon calculating faster than he could verify the answers. To survive what he later called his arithmetic nightmare, Rutchinsky was forced to dive deep into number theory, frantically inventing mnemonic shortcuts just to keep pace with his own class. Some shortcuts actually came from the children themselves. One 12-year-old student invented a technique for multiplying complex two-digit numbers, like 43 times 87. By rounding the numbers and multiplying the base tens, 40 times 90, he quickly reached 3,600. From there, he multiplied the remaining 3 by 47 to get 141. Adding that to 3,600 reveals the answer, 3741. The traditional roles in the classroom had inverted. The sheer processing speed of the children actively forced their elite professor to develop a highly advanced method of teaching math. These mathematical battles relied on creative intuition rather than simple rote memorization. Rutchinsky observed a direct correlation. His best mathematicians also displayed exceptional artistic and musical talent. This led to a surge of creativity in the village. The school formed a multi-part choir capable of executing music so complex that it drew the attention and admiration of elite composers, including Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, who maintained a long correspondence with Rutchinsky. Treating marginalized children with elite pedagogical respect unlocked a multidisciplinary renaissance that dismantled the myth of the simple-minded peasant. The methods developed in that chaotic wooden classroom didn't stay a local secret. Rutchinsky eventually published his techniques in a book titled 1001 Problems for Mental Arithmetic, which quickly became the definitive guide for rural teachers across Russia. He scaled his impact outward, using his own funds and pension to build 15 additional rural schools. He also aggressively pushed for gender equality in education, fighting to open schools specifically for peasant girls. The human validation of his work was evident in the children themselves. Many of the illiterate, impoverished students who sat in his first classroom grew up to become renowned painters, specialized educators, and skilled medical professionals. Tetivo proves that human genius is distributed equally across all classes. Ryczynski's success came from igniting a child's inherent obsession and recognizing the boundless potential hiding in plain sight.